All right, welcome to another episode of Driving Cheap with Jeff. On today's episode, I'm going to show you one of the difference in changing a Blendoor actuator on a Dodge Charger Pursuit model with a column shifter. This is about the worst aspect of having one of these is this column shift. So this is why you'd probably want to put a tunnel shifter in, is just so that you don't have to do all this when your Blendoor goes out. I actually didn't have to take the cluster out. The cluster could have stayed. It was easy to take out. It was a wire here that it was kind of, the connector was a little messed up, so I didn't want to pull it out. So I disconnected everything I could on this. All right, you have this little shifter set up here. This thing is delicate. Be careful with this. To do, all right, is you have one large torque screw that holds the bottom of this. All right, it goes up through here in this little metal bracket, and that screws up into this right here. You can see we have that. All right, it screws into that. And you have these two brackets. This thing's kind of awkward. You have these two 8mm studs that stick out, right? And this you kind of have to pry out a little bit to get from behind that trim right there. That little plastic bit right here that sticks out, this piece, you kind of have to bend that out to get this out. And you have to remove the bracket. This attaches in here to the dashboard, right? So that's gonna go in there like this. It's gonna go over the nuts. So you gotta take the bracket off to get this out. And just don't forget, you have some electrical connectors on here. Make sure, do this in the daylight. Last time I did this, I did it at night, and I think I left a wire out. It was horrible. Had to go back in there and try to figure out what I didn't connect. And I've got other auxiliary stuff, like I went in here, and I mean, it's got flashing turn signals and headlights and things and tail lights. And it also still has this device here. I just left it in. This is the little Tremco. Had a ball attached to it to help take the vehicle out of park. And I did not, it's off. I didn't mess with it. I just left it in there into the park locking mechanism. So when you step on the brake, you know, you hear a little click in this thing here, and that's what disengages it. And I'm not messing with it. So I left it in there, and while I'm at it, let me show you where the, I just set it in here. This right here, I just had it in here with all the other stuff out of the way. But this is the Bluetooth right here. It's a Bluetooth module. And all police chargers do have the harness, the big connector right there. See that big connector? They all have that. I had to get this from the junkyard. I had to hack this and splice it together. This connector here. And I had to run that back behind, and it comes out, well, it's behind this box, the Uconnect box. So it plugs in there. It's the black connector. The gray one is for your stuff in the middle. And well, it goes to the middle of the console. You have to disconnect. I had to get at all this, I had to go in on the top, and I had to disconnect the gearbox control module right here. And this just flips down and out of the way. I had to get that just to get to the 4 nuts that hold in. The knee bolster airbag has 4 studs that stick out, and it just drops down and has a connector. And this right here, this just clips into place, and this, let me see if we can get there. This thing here just snaps in place and pops in at the base of the shift linkage. And you've got a couple connectors for, these guys right here are for your transmission. All this stuff, you gotta make sure all this stuff is plugged in. Double check before you get this back together. But you can see in here, you have to take this off. There's no way. And you better put the screws back in. It needs all the screws to secure these Blendoors in, because they will jump track and they'll come out and they won't work. You have to put as hard as they are, these things slide on a little track, and they've got little double arms that hook out. And what I did was after I replaced them, I wanted to make sure they worked. You should put this back together and have it not work. And I started the car. I was able to get the car to start, and I had to have my screen connected to control the HVAC to make sure everything worked. I checked to make sure everything worked. Your one in the back is your hot and cold. That way in the back with little gold screws, that's hot and cold. This one in the front, believe it or not, this is your mid to upper to down. This diverts your air to where you want it to go. All right, so if you have a problem where it's only coming out the top, or you're like you don't even know where the air's going, it's this one. It's a pain in the neck. And then you have over here, on this side, the one closest to the right side of the car. I've got all this back together on this side. But when you drop this glove compartment down, it just takes a few minutes, where your climate control module is all the way off to the right. That just is a little box. And I might show you that later. Actually, I will. I'll pull this back apart and I'll show you what we got going on this side. So let me get all this back together. And oh yeah, look at this. Some people don't really know. I actually brought the clip, but it doesn't matter. This front one is just a guide clip. Clip this, your hood latch. This panel gets in your way. This just slides in place. You can just slide. It just pushes down and out. It's got a little clip right here. You just press this down and it's going to come right out. That'll come out. This just slides out. You got to slide this out too. You got to disconnect your light switch, you know, your lights and everything, just to have it out of the way. Have this little trim piece, little air diverter with a light on it. That plugs into. So let me get back with you after I get this back together, and we'll get this other side apart, and I'll show you what we got going on over there. All right, before I show you the stuff under the passenger seat, or in front of the passenger seat, front, you need to know your car is not going to turn off. Once you start the car to test it, you're going to need to disable the fuel system. So you pull this relay out right here, your fuel pump relay. Within a couple seconds, the engine will turn off, maybe about almost a minute. It'll turn off, go around to the back of the car, disconnect your battery, reconnect your relay, and you'll be back reset with your power on your car off, and you can continue the assembly process. All right, welcome back to Driving Cheap with Jeff. All right, I'm going to show you at the passenger side now and what we have going on with the climate control module, the heater blower motor, and I will explain to you the Blendoor actuators on the passenger side, what they do. Let's get right into it. All right, so these cars, all your Chrysler LS, Dodge vehicles, they have either just basic climate control where like you just set it to how you want it, or you have like a climate control module that you could actually set the temperature to. So this one here is the basic one. It has the same top two numbers. This is the one that came in the police charger, and it's basically you just turn the knob up and down. You want more air, less air. It's not going to show you any kind of number. But when you upgrade to a Uconnect system, you're only going to get out of this module, you'll only get it's like 22 degrees. It'll set to the proper temperature, hot or cold, but then it zeroes back out at it's like 22 degrees Celsius. And the way that you can change it on the number so that the screen in the car will actually have the right temperature, and you could use the auto setting properly, is go and get one out of a Chrysler 300, which is pretty much the same. This came out of a 2011 Chrysler 300, and it did have the climate control with that auto setting. If you have the auto setting, that's going to automatically keep the car at a specific number temperature. So to change this is really, really simple. You literally just slide it in here and it plugs in. It just goes right up in here next to it has two little grooves in the back. They just slide in. Yeah, it slides in and plugs in. This is your blower motor. It's very easy to change. It just has these little Torx screws. I'm sure they're T20s like everything else. And that motor drops out. I got that out of the same car because this one was making a little bit of noise considering it has almost 13,000 running hours on it. But back to that climate control, all right? So you have a Blendoor actuator that, oh yeah, this plug here, my glove compartment's a little worn, and I just unplugged the bulb because the bulb was staying lit after I closed the glove compartment. So I figured I don't really need it. Keep it disconnected for now. But these are your little Blendoor actuators, and they have two screws holding them in, little T20s. This one here, the one that's closest to you on the front, this is your temperature for the passenger side. That will turn this, it rotates this wheel, this actuator wheel, and this can come off the track as well. This is on a little track, right, with a groove behind it. And if it comes off the track, this motor will just continuously twist around, right? And this armature, it only rotates it enough to lift the armature up and down and in between, wherever you set it. It's like a potentiometer. And in here, you would just pull these off to get to this one. This other one here is right, see if we can see it properly. I get kind of angled in here. Move this out of the way. Get my flashlight. Tidy this car up afterwards and clean it. It's been pretty hot today. About 100 degrees, and they're at least in the 90s today. It's cooling off. We are in Georgia. And if you look up in here, see right there? That is your Blendoor that is for your recirculate air and for your outside air. So that directly correlates with this little recirculate button right there. That is just for your recirculate. And you're going to need a T20, a little of electrical tape, especially on the passenger side, to tape your T20 into your little 1/4 inch socket. Have to have one of these tools here. I recommend, I bought a lot of different kits. This is the Craftsman. I bought this at Lowe's, and this has all the different Torx head sockets on the end, and this works really well. And this little angle, because you're not going to get it with a ratchet. It's got to be thin. It's got to have that angle on it. It is very difficult on this passenger side. And something else I should mention is make sure you plug in the bottom. I remember now what was troubling me last time I did it. I forgot the plug that is at the very back at the bottom of your transmission shift linkage. So before you even, as soon as you get that thing into position, before you fasten the upper bracket, make sure you plug that plug. It goes right into the very bottom of this linkage. It's got a couple other wires too that plug into it. But yeah, everything basically, and everything slides into place. This tray comes out really easy. This holds your glove compartment in. It's got 7 little Phillips head screws. Fasten this in. It's got a couple of these little clips that hold it on the back. This has the 3. And I don't remember what this thing is. I disabled this a long time ago. But basically this just slides out. You can just slide this down and out, and these just pop in. They pop in and out. And this side's pretty simple. And the glove compartment basically just hooks in. It's got these little tabs. It's got these tabs right here. You just bend it as you put these in, and they hook on the end. Too easy. But I figured I'd show this to you. with these modules and the differences. And I hopefully you took something away from this video. And please like, share, and subscribe, and give a thumbs up. Thanks for watching.